Hey guys, welcome to the Digital Marketer Podcast, where we talk everything digital marketing from strategy to all the different platforms we all know and love. Today I have Dave Albano, one of our certified partners, plus a elite coach and an agency owner for, was it Joza? God,
JozaMarketing.com.
I've seen it written like 1,000 times,
It's all
and
good, man.
I always pronounce things wrong when I read them first. So
That's all right. I'm also Canadian, so I always
Canadian,
stumble over Z or Z when I spell out Joza.
yeah,
Or Z or Z, rather.
Then you say a boot. And
Out and about.
A
Yeah,
boot, yeah.
I'm glad to be out and about here with you.
We love our Canadians.
Yes,
So
just call me a knucklehead.
anyways, so today we thought we'd talk about being an agency owner, some of the productivity tips and tricks that you have, and also a sprinkling of the lifestyle that we live as agency owners and how we tend to lose track of time. I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah, for sure.
So we actually just had Dave out at our Certified Partner Training Day. He did a presentation specifically about productivity, so we're going to touch on a few of those points. The most memorable of which was your what was it, a Google plugin?
The death calendar.
The death calendar. And so Dave
Doomsday clock.
Dave has this calendar that shows, is it every week?
Yeah.
Okay, it's every week that he's alive, and it marks it down as they get closer to, what was the lifespan? 80
That one is an 80-year lifespan.
80-year lifespan, and it's blacked out all the weeks that he's lived so far.
Correct.
So you want to talk about the the mindset behind that?
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned mindset, because I actually have a psych background. So mindset is key to pretty much everything I do. And in my mind, that's all marketing is psychology and what makes people tick. I actually have my social psychology degree, and I did my honors thesis in goal setting and motivational theory, because I love to know what makes people tick, and that's all marketing is. So I love that. In fact, you keyed in on the mindset piece, number one. And back to the life calendar, death calendar, however you want to position it. Let's be positive. Let's call it a life calendar. So it actually
time left calendar.
Right. So it actually comes from Stoic philosophy, right? To live simply. And there's this, if you're a Chrome user out there, there's a Chrome extension you can plug into your browser called Memento Mori. So memento, like a keepsake kind of thing, memento, and mori. So literally that is Latin for remember death. Right. And it's a constant reminder.
So it's a death clock.
It's a death clock. It's a doomsday clock. Yes. Essentially. You don't want to get to, or is it like 2 minutes to midnight or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
That old Judas Priest song was. I'm dating myself. So yes, this death clock, this life calendar. So go check it out. It's a Chrome extension. Just Google it, called Memento Mori. And you plug it into your Chrome browser. And every time you open up a new tab, this life calendar showing the number of weeks you've lived shows all marked out automatically. You enter your birth date and it auto calculates this. So they have giant poster size formats of 80 or 90 year lifespans measured out in the number of weeks, where the number of weeks you have, one square represents 1 week of your life. And if you take one square and you have 52 tiny squares is one row, that represents 1 year of your life. And then there's several other squares in a giant grid format. So row 2 would be year 2, row 3 is year 3, and so forth, for like 80 or 90 rows. So it's a giant grid of tiny little boxes. So you plug in your birth date, it auto calculates how many weeks you have lived to date. And it shows, more importantly, how many weeks left in the white space you have left to live. So they literally have giant poster size formats where you can put it on your wall at home and color in each week as it passes. This is the much easier version and automated version. And you see it every time you log into your computer. With every single new browser tab you open, it pops up. And I take a moment or two every time I open up a new browser tab to kind of meditate on it and literally remember memento mori and remember death, but also remember life and what I have left living.
That's awesome. So in terms of like your work, because obviously opening up new tabs is a big part of being a digital marketer.
Yes.
What does that do for your mindset in terms of getting work done for that day or week or whatever it is?
It reminds me to GSD, get stuff done, or a little more
It's
stronger expletive.
too nice.
Right. But yeah, it's a constant daily reminder that we only have so many days on this planet, so many weeks on this planet, so many, there's, I think, what is it, 86,400 seconds in every day.
Mhm.
Every single time I open that up, it reminds me to make the most of it. So that helps me focus on the productivity, focus on the fun stuff that I, want to do as well. It's not just all about, all work, no play. I
Mhm.
mean, what are the things that bring you joy and, bring you to life? What are you working so hard all the time as an agency owner, as any business owner? What are you working towards? Because the love of work, most of us, I would argue, know, is because you want to enjoy the greater successes in life.
Yeah.
It reminds you all about that stuff too.
That's awesome. All right, so the life calendar reminds me of a video I saw from Jordan Peterson, who actually talked about your life, and your life is not sitting on a beach drinking cocktails,
Right.
and that's like a little tiny vacation from your life.
Totally.
Your life is, I think his example was how your wife greets you when you walk in the door.
Mm,
That's your life,
yeah.
so stop thinking in terms of
What's the day to day?
yeah, with the day to day. Well, it's 99% of your time, but I think for a lot of people and marketers and small business owners specifically, are it's just this grind that you're going through, and the vacations actually end up being, you know, annoying
Yeah. Yeah.
as you're building your business
Or
because
extraneous to your own life.
yeah,
Right?
or it's just a lot of work. It's a
Yeah.
different type of work.
Yeah.
And so I think it's easy to get that in that cycle and then realize like, oh my gosh, 10 years have gone by. Or if you're watching your weeks,
Yep.
it's only been this many weeks. So
Exactly. But every time that new week clocks over and that next square fills in, it's like, yeah, the clock is ticking. It's a
yeah,
constant reminder.
that's gone.
But to your point, I mean, it's also important. I find it's important to build around your day to day the proper environment so you can enjoy those finer things in life, or so you can enjoy the things that turn you on.
Mhm.
Like for me, you know me, I'm a climber,
Hiking,
right?
yeah.
I,
Climber. Is that different?
yeah,
Is that
much different.
offensive?
Yeah, yeah, it's dude.
How dare you?
Yeah, let's go. Hike Denali. No, you don't do that. So yes, I'm a high altitude mountaineer, as you know.
Okay, there
Right?
you go. That's better.
So you don't really hike at high altitude. But anyway, I digress. I'm a mountain snob, in case you haven't figured out.
Well, I
So
remember. Well, when you were giving your presentation, what stuck out to me was how much time you said you spend doing the stuff that you actually like, which ends up being every day or pretty close to it.
yeah, pretty close to it.
That's awesome.
I try to work smarter, not harder.
Mm.
Right. And in so
Well,
doing,
it's easier said than
it is. But I've literally worked my entire lifetime up until decades on this
done.
planet, manufacturing the lifestyle I have so I can enjoy the things that I love doing. And one of those things is being outdoors. It turns me on. The mountains are my cathedral, right? I get recharged and I get literally, as I'm relating this to you, I'm getting tingles up and down my spine because it's that important to me.
That's awesome.
But what is it for you, or for all the listeners out there? What's important to you that turns you on? I know what that is for me, what rejuvenates my soul and charges my spirit. I live in the shadow of the Rocky Mountains in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, because of that reason. I'm originally from the Toronto, Niagara Falls area, and I moved out west, left my family, left my friends, and everything that I knew growing up as a kid. That was a hard decision. But my lifestyle and what I wanted to surround myself with was more important. I was being a little selfish there for sure, but I left and brought my whole family over and the whole nine yards. But I love this phrase: selfishness equals self-care. And we're always so busy, especially for the lady listeners out there. This is a bit of a stereotype, so if I apologize if I offend anyone, but you guys are known as the caregivers and carers and sharers, right? You're pleasers, right? Almost to a fault. It's innate in you. That's how we evolved. That's not a detriment. It's just that how people have evolved over time. And sometimes that's to a fault, that we neglect ourselves. So I repeat again, selfishness is a form of self-care. So moving out west, yeah, I was being a little selfish, but everyone knew what I was doing and I was doing it for me. And now I have a lifestyle that I love.
That's fantastic. Well, and I think, for both your profession, because you said that you were originally in, your degree in psychology, was it?
Yeah.
And you got into marketing because it was the specific application of something you were already passionate about.
Yes. I
Which
love
is awesome.
psychology and I use my degree in every day in my career.
That's awesome.
And I love doing it. It's not work for me.
Yeah. Well, and that's even better.
Yeah. So,
But I think and like I said about that grind where it's like, well, I got to pay the bills and I got to, take care of this and take care of that. And you end up just in this, funk for
treadmill of,
yeah, well, you don't even
doom.
realize it's happening.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like, well, that's just how I survive. And so I think that survival mindset is a lot of small business owners, a lot of agency owners, where it's just like, well, this is what I have to do to get by.
Yep.
And that's
And I'm here to tell you that I think there's a different way. I
mhm,
think that is a societal expectation that we
mhm.
place on ourselves and society places on ourselves
Not just
that
well, they reward it like, oh, you're so working so hard.
yeah, and you got to have your nose to the grindstone, like 24/7.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it's funny because I hear that for me because I do a lot of things and I do seem very busy. But when people tell me that, like, well, I know you're super duper busy, and I'm like, I'm not doing this right. It's not
mm.
supposed to look like that.
But and when you do it that hard and you're working so hard with nose to the grindstone, what happens? The time passes. You look up and all of a sudden, what are we? We're in March right
Yeah,
now, and all of
almost
a
a
sudden you
quarter
look
of the
up and
year
it's
done.
a quarter of the year. Where did it go? Right. So time passes like that. And that's why I believe I literally take the time if I'm on a walk somewhere and there's a rose bush. This is
It's a
I will
cliche,
stop it.
but
I'm a living cliche. Yes, I will literally stop to smell the roses
that's
on
fantastic.
purpose. I take the time just to slow it down, just to dial it back because we're already on that treadmill, which
Mhm,
is spinning so fast. So when you can manufacture those moments of appreciation of
mhm.
life, it just makes everything so much
Well, and I think I have severe allergies, so I don't do that.
better. Okay, fair enough.
But
Well, you got cedar fever going on now in Austin and
I
just starting.
used to. I got used to that. No, but with my son though, I'll do the same thing, but I'll do it with the clouds or something like
Yeah,
that. Like, hey, that's a pretty vista we're seeing right now. You need to look at it.
dude, every part of my morning routine, I hop out of bed and I got a beautiful ensuite deck off my bedroom overlooking the mountains. I got beautiful views of the Rocky Mountain skyline. The first thing I do when I hop out of bed is open that door, get out on my deck, and enjoy the mountains, assuming they're not clouded in. But usually that recharges me, even not even being in them. They're about an hour
It's
drive
not
away.
the negative 10 degrees.
Oh, no, that I flew
That's
out of to be
refreshing.
here. Yeah. Well,
Woo!
well, that is refreshing.
I'm
That's
awake.
it's actually part of my routine too. I
That
I do
is.
cold showers, right?
Oh,
I do the
okay.
ice baths and all that stuff.
Oh,
That
nice.
recharges me. And yeah,
Cryo? You do
what's that? A
cryo?
little bit of cryo. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That whole modality for sure.
Standing naked in a cold closet.
Cold, yeah, yeah. In liquid nitrogen,
Liquid
not
nitrogen.
liquid,
Not
but
liquid. That would be way colder.
that's something different.
There you go.
But anyway, the mountains recharge me. It refreshes my soul, like you said. So
Mhm,
that's I make that part of my not just my lifestyle, but my daily routine.
mhm,
So it gets me away from the mundane. And I'm a helpless romantic. So I do that in the morning, but then at night, again, my deck overlooks where the sun sets over the
mm.
Rockies. I bought my place specifically for that. I see the sunsets every night and I
That's awesome.
appreciate them. We have we're close. Calgary's like a 3-hour drive from Montana,
Mhm,
north of the American border. So Montana is known as big sky country. Well, that carries 3 hours north too. So we're a
yeah,
big sky country too, right?
nice.
And it is absolutely stellar, and I enjoy that every single day, just taking those little moments of life to appreciate.
So, yeah, I love your lifestyle because that sounds ideal. Following your passion with your work, following your passion with your activities, making time for those
Yeah,
activities, and then just appreciating every, or at least a few moments
all the
every
little
single day.
moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're, again, small business owner, agency owner who's hustling all the time,
Mhm.
can't seem to find a way out of working 50, 60 hours a week and on the weekends,
Right.
it doesn't
Yeah,
stop.
the 60, 80 hours when it should be 40 or less.
Exactly. So what steps could they like practical, right now steps could they start to implement that could actually get them closer to that ideal?
Okay, fantastic question. I actually have developed a tool that I think will help the listeners out there. So if you're cool with it, I'll happy to
Yeah, yeah.
share. Okay, so there's no opt-in required to this, guys. So, but if you go to jozamarketing.com, that's Joza, depending on where you're from, depending on your persuasion. So Joza marketing.com/focuswise, all one word, FOCUSWISE. jozamarketing.com/focuswise. That'll take you to an ungated spreadsheet with a 5-step formula that I designed. It's called the FocusWise
Hmm.
formula. And step one, and this is what I want listeners to do. I don't know if we'll be able to get into all of them because there's a lot of calculations in the spreadsheet
Yeah,
and
let's
whatnot.
do the general gist.
Yeah, general gist is step one is to identify every single activity you do in an average week,
Hmm.
no matter how menial. If you are a coach or a trainer, well, then naturally you would have coaching time slots in there, but you also have checking email, checking Facebook, doing social media, managing your team. If you have a big team, small team, managing yourself, working out, whatever. And these are business. Let's not do the personal activities.
Mhm.
So maybe workout was a bad example, but you want to do your business related activities.
Yeah. Checking
Every
email.
all
Yeah.
that stuff, replying to email. So don't just put email, be as granular as you
Mm.
can, guys, and do checking email, but then replying to email, forwarding email, all those things. Be as granular as possible. So that's step one. Identify all the business related tasks, no matter how menial, that you do in a given week,
Mhm.
including those tasks that are zero value tasks, like, checking Facebook just out of, personal pleasure during business hours.
Mm.
And all of a sudden you're watching cat videos on YouTube,
Yeah,
right?
it happens. Well, now they have a news feature, so I've been looking at the
Oh,
news
I
a
know,
lot.
right? So, so do that. So that's, let's call it part A of step one.
Mhm.
Part B is go back to each one of those activities and assign a dollar value to each activity if you were able to outsource that activity
Mm.
to someone else other than you.
Yeah.
And everything is outsourceable, guys, by the way. Okay. So assign and you'll have to do some rough estimates here. It doesn't have to be exact. It's not an exact science, but it's ballpark.
Yeah.
So give a rough estimate. Like you could hire an employee or a virtual assistant, for example, to check your email, to do inbox management.
Nice.
And you might say, if you're here in North America like we are, that might be a $20 or $25 hour task. But if you're outsourcing it offshore, that might be a $5 or $10 hour
Mhm.
task. Right. So whatever your situation is, and choose the lesser of those options.
Okay.
Right. So if you know it's possible to do it $5 an hour, then put in $5 an hour. Right. But just be aware of your options. So what that does is the next step in the process is to determine your zone of genius.
Mm.
And those are your areas of brilliance, the things you love doing, and the things that move the needle in your business, the money makers, the things that make the cash registering. It's the overlap of those three things I call the zone of genius. So it's your area of brilliance, it is your money makers, the things that move the needle in your business, and the things you love doing. You might be brilliant at something, but you may hate doing that. Yeah, you may suck at it, or you just don't like doing it. Right. So anyway, that identify your top three activities there, and then estimate the average percentage per week you spend in those activities. And the idea is, once you identify your three top areas of your zone of genius, work more there because
Yeah.
you love doing them, you're brilliant at them, and they move the needle in your business. Why wouldn't you be working there?
Yeah. You
Right.
should be angry that you're not working.
Exactly. And try and follow the 80-20 rule. It's impossible to work 100% of the time there, but if you can bump it up from, 20% of working in those top three, and you can bump it up 30% and 40% up to 80% to get the 80-20 rule, that
you're killing it.
explodes your business.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to delve into the other steps because there's formulations and all that kind of stuff involved. Just go to the spreadsheet, josephmarketing.com/focuswise. The key point is, and the heavy lifting, guys, is in step one when you identify all those activities. I mean, that should take you just no more than 10-15 minutes
Well,
to do.
and if you are having difficulty, what we do at Digital Marketer from an executive standpoint is we track what we do every day for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they're like, today I did this for this much time. And then you just average it.
Exactly.
Find out.
Exactly. And that's the perfect way to identify those activities and the time involved. So once you do that, then your job and the FocusWise formula helps you identify those. When you go through the rest of the process, you determine those low-level activities that are way below your pay grade, the things that are simply just not worth your time doing. Because one of the next steps in the process, it identifies your true hourly rate, what your time is worth. And most people don't know that number. This formula, this calculator sheet will do that for you. And it's a point of awareness. It brings you to appreciate how many tasks you shouldn't be doing and what your next steps are to offload those tasks from your workload.
That's awesome. Well, the funny thing is, we, as marketers, we do that constantly with our funnels, with all our website analytics, with all our social media stats. And then when it comes to our own time,
our own stuff, we optimize everything but ourselves.
We just say like, wow, we just got to do the work.
Yeah. No, actually, if you take half an hour to do this exercise, guys, or less, optimize yourself. It'll change your life. I promise.
Yeah. Well, and even just making, small things like for me, a big change I made was I stopped working when I got home.
Mm,
And because I have kids,
of
there's
course.
homework, stuff's happening, talk to my wife.
Yep.
And I used to try to work during that process.
Yeah.
And not only was it unproductive, but it made everybody angry. So
Hmm.
once I cut that out, and it was hard. It sounds easy, like, well, just stop working, turn off your computer or your phone or whatever.
Yeah.
But you have clients, you have stuff going on, you have deadlines, and so you feel that pressure all the time.
Hmm.
But I think for me, it was going through that acknowledgement, like I'm not getting that much done during the 4 hours I'm trying to work. I'm getting 15 minutes of work done.
Exactly.
Why even try?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a fantastic way to just, even if you just identify that one piece,
Hmm.
your life will be better.
Well, and if you go through that exercise, identify all those activities, you don't have to eliminate them all overnight.
Yeah.
I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, so just choose one. The first one, get that off your list, delegate it, outsource it, drop it, whatever you have to do, and then work on the next one. You start buying your time back
Hmm.
and using yourself for highest and best use.
That's fantastic.
So I invest in real estate too, and that's my wealth building
Hmm.
activity. So I'll take all my income and profits from the businesses I own and pour them into real estate. That's my wealth building. So in real estate, there's this adage that you always want to use a piece of property for its highest and best use. I
Love that.
took that adage and applied it to life, and we want to use our time for the same thing, our highest and best use. Doing these low level activities ain't it.
That's awesome. We actually did the exact same thing with our projects around our home. So we have, some acreage and there's always things that need to be done.
Mhm.
And so we only have so much money to spend on that. So we look at the money and we look at the projects and we say, hey, what's going to be the biggest impact on our lifestyle?
Yeah.
And so that's how we organize the tasks.
And you prioritize.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
then they get done.
Yep.
You can't get everything done,
Of course not.
but
You can, just chip away at it and start making progress. And when you get progress, you see momentum, you build momentum, it spins the flywheel again,
Mhm.
and you rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, nothing feels better than when you outsource a task and the task gets done.
Oh my goodness.
You're
So
like, oh my
it's
God.
interesting you bring this up because I mean, I formed my marketing agency. I'm a strategy guy.
Mhm.
So I focus mainly on the strategy. I'm a fractional CMO for several companies around the world. And multi-million dollar companies, they bring me in and I basically tell them what to do. It's great
Yeah.
for me because I don't have to
You don't have to
implement.
do
Right? I don't have to do it. I
it.
just strategize and coach them
That's
on
fun.
what to do and how to do it. But their teams have to do it. Inevitably, they always come back to me, guys, Dave, I don't have the team or the time to do all this stuff, what you're recommending. Can't you just do it for me or recommend someone who
Who
can?
could execute? Yeah.
So out of that demand, I actually created a whole new service arm of my company just for VA staffing, virtual assistants.
Nice.
So because there was the demand there, and I know there's other VA agencies out there. I made this one a little different because I saw other problems, and I've experienced this before. When I first started out on my journey looking for VAs, I heard, hey, everyone get a VA and offload
Yeah.
all your tasks. Well, there's no panacea to anything, right? But one of the big issues I found, and with my clients came back to me when I introduced this, is that the recruitment efforts, which is another task, is
Mhm.
another time you say, oh, I got to hire someone. Now you got to start writing job descriptions, and then you got to post them, and then you're inundated with all these submissions, and then you got to filter them and sort through them and read them all and prioritize them. And then you got to do interviews. So I offloaded all of that through my VA staffing arm of my company, the division, and we do all the recruitment for you. So you don't have to. That's, again, it's in practice with the keeping of the principles. That's not your highest and best use.
Yeah.
So I formed a service to do that. That's number one. They don't have to do any recruitment efforts. We do the processes. We do 2 meetings. One is a needs discovery session to see what kind of needs you need fulfilled, what kind of tasks you need fulfilled in your business, custom to you. And then we do the recruitment. We bring them back over and we do a 3-way interview between you, the prospect or client, me, the service provider, and the potential VA. I already know they're a good fit for the requirements through the needs assessment session, but I just want to make sure it's a good cultural and personality fit with where they're going to end up in the business. So that's what that interview is. And it's like 20 minutes. It's super quick. And you either like them or you don't, and we move on. It's great. But if it doesn't work out, I'll do that. My guarantee is the whole process. I'll do all the recruitment for free, do that and replace the VA that didn't work out, which rarely happens. But sometimes, things happen or personalities clash, whatever it is. And then we'll replace them for free. And because this is a digital marketer podcast, one of the other issues I see happening is they have to train VAs or their employees in all things digital marketer because they're digital marketer advocates.
Mhm.
The company, right? They're trained in the customer value journey or the growth scorecard or the growth flywheel, all the tools we teach in digital marketer.
Mhm.
These companies are adopting them, but then they have to teach their employees. I teach my VAs all that stuff before I ever inject them into a company so you
Nice.
don't have to.
That's awesome.
So there's the training. And then the last piece that is a big headache for most people, they get a VA inserted in their company. And there's arguably, and all of mine are based out of the Philippines, by the way, they're
Mhm.
not North American. But they're, high level English, high intelligence factor, quick learners, all that stuff, and pre-trained in
Yeah,
DM
pretend,
ways.
yeah.
And then the biggest issue once all that process is done is once they're injected into a company is the communication and if they're doing a good job.
Mm.
The client doesn't know, and when anyone typically hires a VA, they're going, how do I know if they're doing a good job? How do I know what they're doing and when? And they're not checking in, and because there's cultural barriers and they're typically shy and cultural differences, all these things. So I've developed a proprietary process to eliminate all that, so the
Yeah.
VAs are trained to communicate not just once a week, not every other day, daily.
Nice.
There's daily check-ins, and using a proprietary template I developed, you know exactly what they did that day and what they're doing tomorrow. So you never have to guess. There's never any guesswork.
That's amazing. Well, I think that is a big factor to consider when you're thinking about using a VA or outsourcing some of these tasks. Like there is unless you use your service, of course, there is a training factor,
Totally.
process factor. I think it's everybody's least favorite topic is process creation.
Yeah.
And so nobody wants to
Which
do
which
it.
actually they can do too. You need SOPs and standard operating
Yeah,
procedures,
there you
have
go.
your VA do
There you
it.
go.
Got you covered.
So you should really help though. I'm like, I always look at all our processes and be like, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Well, because the problem is I've always found is you set together the process, and if they don't understand the process, like
Mhm.
why these tasks are being done,
Yep.
then they'll start skipping them. Like, oh, well, that doesn't really do anything, or
Mhm.
it does something that they don't understand, and so they just skip it. And you're like, oh, that's accounting records. You just skipped.
Right? Exactly. That's kind of critical to the business.
Yeah.
But that's exactly why they come pre-trained in something like the customer value journey,
Mhm.
which is a strategic framework that our businesses adopt, as you
Mhm.
know. And then that everyone is trained in that, including the VAs, so they know the why, so they don't skip those steps.
That's awesome. Well, I think that's some fantastic tips. Any last motivators for adjusting your lifestyle, getting off the
Getting off the
getting off
the hamster wheel.
hamster wheel,
Yeah,
rat race, all that stuff.
get a doomsday clock. No.
Get a doomsday.
Memento Mori, Chrome
Death
extension.
clock. I like death clock
Death
better.
clock.
That sounds like a action movie.
Yeah, no, I would really, all jesting aside, I would really encourage everyone literally to stop and smell the roses, slow down a little bit. We're all, we go back to the death clock.
Mhm.
We all have so many, minutes or hours or days or weeks or years on this planet. Let's make the most of them. It's not all about the work. At the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed, no one's going to say, "Oh, gee, wish I worked more hours in the office."
Yeah. Well, or for me, it'd be like, wow, I was a hard worker. Like,
That's
that's a
what you want,
terrible thing for me to
right? I
say.
don't want to sound morbid and end on a downer note, but I'm just trying to motivate people. Yes, for a motivator, hey, death is a pretty strong
Oh
motivator,
yeah. Well,
right?
go to any funeral and the best ones are usually the ones where somebody just killed it at life and did a zillion things
It-
and nobody's sad. They're just like they kicked ass.
Dude, if I mean, heaven forbid, but I've had many scrapes with death, to be honest. I'm currently climbing the Seven Summits. It's a lifelong pursuit. That's the highest peak on each continent. The last one I attempted, I'm too, I'm a little disappointed because I'm down. I'm two in so far, two out of the seven
Ooh.
accomplished. My third one that I attempted was Denali, the highest peak in Alaska.
Mm.
And yeah, I almost died on that one. I
Oh,
was an hour away before this. It was a 3-week expedition. It was a serious undertaking,
yeah.
living on a glacier, rock, snow, and ice, no living, breathing insects, plants, nothing
Hmm.
for a full 3 weeks. And this vicious blizzard blows in when I'm almost at the summit, and we had to retreat. So
Brutal.
I think I showed you my
Oh yeah.
Nat
So
Geo Wild picture of that
that's awesome.
excursion, right? But I do that to because it brings me joy. It's challenging. It's hard work,
Hmm.
but it's fulfillment. It's fulfilling, right? And if I died on that mountain, heaven forbid, or if I die on my next climb, I would die loving doing what I love.
Yeah.
So do more of what you love, even if life is so short. Heaven forbid we can, leave here, the studio, recording studio right now, and get hit by a car.
Yeah.
right? We never know.
That's
So
290, most dangerous road in America.
yeah, I know. It's right outdoor. I know. I walked it from the coffee shop down the street.
Oh my gosh. Well,
So
thank you so much for coming on. I think it's, I like having these kind of lifestyle esque episodes so people realize that it's not just about, constant development and constant change and things, but, if you figure out your passion and can apply it to your work, that's an awesome step. And then taking that time to actually enjoy life is, obviously the most important thing you can do.
exactly. That's why are we doing this
and
all
and
for?
and I think it's a success driver.
Totally,
You'll be much more successful if you're happy.
people measure their success in our society through dollars and cents. I would argue it should be time.
Yeah, I agree.
The time doing the things we love more and more.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find out more about you?
JozaMarketing.com. I already mentioned that. JOZA. I'll do the Canadian version this time or the British version. JOZAMarketing.com. You can find me there. If you're interested in any of the VA stuff that I mentioned, you can just email me at support, or email my team, support@jozamarketing.com. Hit me up there. I'm on the Facebooks. I'm on the socials. I'm on LinkedIn, just under my name, Dave Albano, all one word, ALBANO. And yeah, that's where you
Cool.
can find me.
We'll put all those links in the description too. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want more of this, please subscribe. We're coming out with, 2 to 5 episodes every single week. So we're covering every topic. Also, if you're interested in being on the podcast, check out our website, digitalmarketer.com. Go to the bottom, look for work with us, and you'll find links for pretty much any way to contribute. So check that out, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much for having me, Mark.